All praises to the Most High, whose true name in ancient Hebrew is Yahweh, and the name of his only begotten Son, whose true name in ancient Hebrew is Yahweh Shai, and the Holy Spirit, which in ancient Hebrew is the Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles who taught us this truth by the Holy Spirit. Honors to the brothers risking their life and freedom to push the gospel. Peace and blessings to the elect, which will be the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians who make up the lost 12 tribes of Israel according to scripture and according to prophecy. But the elect would be 1/3 of the Israelites who will return back to the Most High during the last days, which is right now, to receive salvation. While the 2/3 of Israel who don't turn back to the Most High be destroyed in judgment. We back with another lesson through the mercy of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. This lesson is going to be titled, There is No Future Here. What do you people have to look forward to? Lifetime VACCINES. So again, there is no future here. What do you Americans have to look forward to? A lifetime of VAXs. VAX for short. But we're going to explain. So once you start talking about prophecy, the end of the world, people get upset, people get offended. As if the Lord is coming back at the wrong time. As if the Lord is interrupting their plans. The Lord ain't interrupting nobody's plans. He's coming to save his people. The so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians who make up the 12 tribes of Israel. The Lord is coming to save his people. He's not interrupting nobody's plans. He's doing his people a favor. Who really interrupting your plans is Esau Edom, the so-called white man. Because people got 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year, 25-year, 50-year plans. But they not going to be around to see them plans through. Because Esau the white man got a depopulation agenda. So yeah, it's really Esau who interrupting your plans. Because if we remain in America any longer, another 4, 5, 7, 8 years, we will all die off. We will all be dead if we stay here in America any longer. So it's really Esau who's interrupting the plans. But again, the Lord is doing his people a favor by coming back in his lifetime. Very, 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 very soon. Lord is doing us a favor to save us. So the end of the world really represents life. Because the Lord coming to save us from the fate that we will suffer if we remain here in America any longer. Everybody's fate here in America is death. Not death of you living the full life to your 70s, 80s, and 90s. No, that's you living a miserable life and dying early. Because that's going to be all of our fate here in America. If not by the sword, gun violence, wars, nuclear wars, the chemtrails, the food. You got all these different diseases and illnesses that's killing off the people. Living this American lifestyle, eating the American diet, breathing this water and air that he's contaminating. So yeah, it's Esau the white man who's really interrupting everybody's plans. Because he's trying to kill everybody off. And again, the Lord is doing us a favor to come save us from the fate that we will be living here in America. And again, it's Esau that's really interrupting your plans. Because see, in America, we dying at a faster rate than our ancestors. We die every day as you age, but you dying faster than the people did who was around 25 years ago, 50 years ago, 75 years ago. They died at a much slower rate. And what proves it is when you look at the young generation. Young people developing breast cancer, prostate cancer. Young people got cardiovascular disease, heart disease. Young people got obesity, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Young people dying from strokes and heart attacks. Even athletes. So again, we dying at a faster rate today than back in the past. So, most people that's living now wouldn't make it to see their 50s and 70s and 80s, especially the younger generation. They prove that we dying at a faster rate. Plus, Esau said that 3 and 4 people are going to develop cancer. So again, we dying at a faster rate. So the Lord really doing a great service and a great favor to his people by returning in this lifetime to save us from this place known as America. But again, there's no future here because again, 3 and 4 people would develop cancer, most likely die. Most people can't even get treatment for cancer or all these diseases and illnesses, you know, that we developing. Not to mention he burning down the cities, building up smart cities. The dollar is collapsing. He's going to come with universal basic income, CBDCs, going to put you in a smart city. And if you do anything you're not supposed to do, he can deactivate the CBDC. So there's no future here. There's no life worth living when you go deeper into America's future. Now, another thing we can add to the list is the lifetime of VAXs. VACCINE, because previously you took a VAX, you know, throughout different stages of your life. Well, now Esau is developing a VAX for every problem under the sun. And we're going to get into some of that later on in the lesson. And what Esau want to do is make you take a VAX for everything every year. Really, he wants you to take a VAX, every month. And then based off what happened from the VAX that they tried to pass for the COV during the pandemic, you see how that turned out to people. Never has there been a thing such as a sudden death syndrome. All kind of people, old, young, out of shape, athletes, collapsing and dying on the spot. Sudden death syndrome. Hitting little kids and toddlers. Sudden death syndrome. Dropping from stroke and heart attacks. That's the result of the VAX for the COV that they created during the pandemic. So, and a lot of people took that VAX for the COV. That's why a lot of people been dropping. But to show how bad that was, this is a video that I put together that we're gonna bring out. We're gonna jump around in it to show why all these young people are dying. To show what happened when you take Esau the white man's VAX. Now he's coming out with a VAX for everything else. What other harmful side effects would that have? How many more people will he kill with his future VAXs? So we're going to get into this video I'm gonna have to mute it every so often to block out the V word. So check this out.
No one will see what I see. So in the very beginning, I'm thinking, okay, so COVID could have had COVID, and then you find out they were vaccinated.
Damn.
A lot of the substances that I'm seeing are stuff that looks pretty much, it's this white fibrous stuff.
Not to jump forward. So pretty
Now
much, because I sucked at muting it just now. So pretty much, they're finding that these people have, clots in their system that they thought would have been from the COV, but turned out is really people who received the VAC for the COV. So now they're going to get into the process of embalming when they prepare people for funerals, what they finding inside of their bodies. So check this out.
These obstructions that we're seeing.
I was in Ohio last week or the week before last, and there were 100 embalmers at the Ohio Embalmers Association in my lecture, and I posed these photos up where people could see them, and nearly all of the embalmers out of 100 in this room raised their hands that they had seen clots and white fibrin structures of that kind of size. And when I ask again, when did they start seeing them? Again, it's that 16 to 18 month period.
This is different. And they need to figure out what it is. That's the problem, is they need to figure out. That's why we're talking to you, is that we're concerned for humanity.
As a Canadian embalmer, I have found that everybody I embalmed for over a year had fibrous mass clots.
See them clumping or with strange shapes.
The fiber mass clots had been fed by blood clots at the ends that were integrated into the fiber mass clots. The fiber mass clots themselves were not blood clots. On average, I would embalm a body every day or two. Every single body had them, and they were massive.
When I was talking to Dr. Ken Thorpe, he was more concerned about the real tiny clots that he called microclots. And when I asked him about microclots, I was like, let me explain. Sometimes when I'm seeing the blood, it looks like the blood is dirty.
You'd see debris or material.
Almost like it has little fine grains of sand, or almost like fine grains of coffee grounds. The reason why he's more concerned about those is because they will go undetected, and they can get lodged up in capillaries and end up slowly starving organs of the oxygen that it needs. So what I did is I captured some blood that looked dirty. It's clouding it up, but see, I wanted you to see the specks that are floating around. There we go.
Looks like rust.
It does. Look at like, see, you can almost see that they're like stringy looking.
So people developing these clots, which is really a parasite in their cardiovascular system. Now we got one more section we're gonna jump ahead to. That these things are the direct cause of sudden death syndrome in people that took the VAX for the COV back during the pandemic.
Yeah, you can kind of hold
It's
on.
like
to
a rubber band almost.
Yeah, like a rubber band or like calamari.
So of course that explains people stroking out.
And that was my concern in the very beginning of all this. The whole thing was as I'm seeing all of these strange clots, I'm hearing stories of blood clots and embolisms and sudden heart attacks.
Scientists say there has been an increased rise, a sharp rise, in unexplained deaths during the pandemic are not listed as COVID.
Yeah, so that's that. So the point is, when he saw the so-called white man come with another VAX for another reason, try to scare people into taking it, don't take it. Because now he's coming up with every possible reason to make another VAX. And we're gonna get to that towards the end of the lesson. So we're gonna start here, Jeremiah 17:5. Thus says the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, whose heart departeth from the Lord. So cursed was our people that trusted in their enemy, that trusted in their oppressor, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, and went and got the VAX for the COV. Cursed are you, because now you got these clots, these parasites in your cardiovascular system. Not everybody, but a lot of people that took it, and now they dead. That's that curse. So cursed be the man that trusteth in man. Esau, the white man, created the scare to try to scare people into taking it. Should have trusted in the Lord. But see, Esau not done. He's going to come with another scare and another one. He's going to come with everything in the book to try to get people to stick their arm out to receive these VAXs that he coming with. And then ultimately, the microchip, which is the mark of the beast. He's going to come up with a scare to get people to get that as well. But yeah, cursed be the man that trusteth in man. Because not only do these people got these clots, these parasites, now turning out people got HIV and AIDS after receiving the VAX. Now people getting opportunistic diseases, which is pretty much diseases that overwhelm the body when your immune system is depleted. So people who went and got all them boosters, they got no immune system. Now they susceptible to any and every illness out there. And come to find out, the VAX, it was modeled and built based off of HIV. So it's very similar. And then they say it's to the point that you can't even lay with someone who has the VAX for the COV, because those spike proteins in the things in the VAX can be transmitted to you like a STD. And like HIV, you can pass that to your children. So, what if the HIV that people developed from getting the VAX? What about the parasites and the clots in their bloodstream they got from the VAX? Can them clots and parasites be passed on to your children? That's the thing. The effects of living under Esau the white man are so severe that it will affect your offspring. But that's why I say, cursed be the man that trusteth in man. Trusting in Esau the white man, you will curse yourself and your offspring. So yeah, the harmful effects of the VAX for the COV, from the HIV and AIDS development to those white parasites in the bloodstream, hey, that stuff can probably be passed to your child. And then how long would that child live? Eventually everybody will start dropping dead. That's why when we come to the book of Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 3, and we're not talking to you other nations of people. We talking to the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, the Lord's people. We should be trusting in the Lord, not in man. Therefore, shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and your trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. Who's Pharaoh? The so-called white man. Why? Because Egypt is America. So the pyramids on the back of the dollar. Yeah, trusting with the white man say your government, your doctors, with some folks, the world, the World Health Organization, the WHO. That's gonna be your shame. Why? Because trusting in them, you're gonna develop HIV and AIDS. You're gonna develop white clotting parasites or something else or something worse. Eventually, you're just gonna die, and that's gonna be to your shame. And when we get this, Matthew 24:21, for there shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world, to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days should be shortened. Yeah, so it's going to be so bad out here, had not the Lord returned, all people on earth would die, especially the 12 tribes, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, because it's us they after. That's why they promoted the VAX to so-called Black and Hispanic communities. They said we needed to get it first. And just to show some more of how horrible this stuff is, let me jump around real quick. Check this out.
They
Wow.
That's why people having strokes and heart attacks. Now, how many of our people suffered this fate because they trust in the Esau the white man?
This is not normal.
Should make it.
Look at the size of this one. The big one came out of the vein in the iliac.
And then all of a sudden it just medical doctor gets I believe the only way that a medical
Yeah, cursed be the man that trusteth in man. Jeremiah 17:5. But like Matthew 24:22 say, except those days should be shortened. So no, the Lord is shortening the days. The Lord is speeding up the time. Not to interrupt your plans, but to interrupt the plans of Esau Edom, the so-called white man. The Lord is shortening the days to interrupt what Esau is trying to do to us. Give everybody a microchip, give everybody all kind of VAXs. But that's why I say, except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. Great tribulation. The great tribulation ain't limited to wars and violence and bloodshed and people killing one another. No, that great tribulation, the famine gonna be part of that. Pestilence, diseases, and outbreaks gonna be part of that. Complications and adverse reactions from Esau's VAXs and his medicines is a part of that great tribulation. Because Esau and his sorceries, which would be his medical field, his FDA, his CDC, that's gonna wipe out tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people worldwide. So yeah, for there should be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world. So again, that's not limited to wars and bloodshed and people killing one another, but the very diseases and complications that people gonna develop from living under Esau the white man. One way or another, we will all be dead folks up in here. By the sword, by the famine, or by the pestilence. But again, that's why there's no future here in America. The scripture said it. It said, except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. Under Esau, the so-called white man. So there's no future here when you look at this man's agenda. Now, I got a series of pictures we're gonna look at. So I know someone who does daycare, and she received these children books, comics and coloring books that she's supposed to give to the children to read. She's supposed to read it to them, activities for the children. In the books, it promotes the VAX. It promotes getting VAX throughout all of your life. Like you see the cover of this one. Junior Disease Detectives, Operation Outbreak. Kids should be learning their shapes, their colors, their ABCs, their numbers. What happened to Barney? What happened to Sesame Street? What happened to Teletubbies? Now I'm gonna show you the cover of this other book. Then we gonna get to that. This might be the title of the lesson. VAX through life activity book. What about activity books that taught children their fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, shapes and objects? So this is what Esau is trying to push on the next generation. Like he does with the music, like he does with the food. Now he want to double down and do it through medicine. In particular, is VAXs. Now we're going to briefly skim over this comic book. So let me see. So they say something right here. Every germ is different. To combat this, a special immune cell will be trained to have defense against certain germ invaders. That's right. You develop an immune response. When you get an infection, your body learns everything it can about the germ that causes the disease. Your body cells will remember what the specific germ looks like. Yep, that's an immune response. So they're acknowledging the body has its own defense. But when you come to the next page, it's pretty much sick aliens that's attacking this lady. She goes on to say, the virus has gotten me. It's trying to infect me. However, I know that I'll be safe because I have been V'd up. VAXis works by causing your immune system to recognize and fight against the attacking iris. But she says she knows she's safe because she's been V'd up. Pretty much saying if you've been V'd up, you can't get sick. But how many people still develop the COV after being V'd up? How many times did they say getting V'd up doesn't guarantee that you still won't get the COV? But remember, just previously, they said when you get an infection, your body learns everything about the germ that causes the disease, and your body cells will pretty much develop immunity to those germs. But what about promoting healthy dieting, fruits, vegetables, covering up, getting rest, getting sleep, possibly sweating it out? What about that? Because we grew up, sweating out colds and flus, up in the vitamin C intake. But none of that is promoted here. And we going to get why in a minute. But pretty much when you come here, there's a certain boy that gets sick, and he's being tested for different colds and flus, all kind of medical tests. But when you go down to this next page that I got, they're trying to figure out why this boy is sick. We gonna get this. Alex is Allison. I just talked to Eddie's friends. I guess Eddie is a sick boy. It says they say he showed a pig at the fair. So they went to a fair, and Eddie pretty much was handling a pig. And you know, in the law, in the commandments, it says don't touch swine. But as we go further, they want to run some tests on the animals that was at the fair. And over here it says that was the Animal State Health Laboratory calling with the swine test results. See that? With the swine test results. So not only should you promote healthy eating, you should condemn touching animals that's known for carrying diseases, like raccoons, like pigs. Really, these books should be teaching you not to eat certain foods like pork. Because if you can get sick from touching a pig, that should tell you you can get sick from eating it. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. The boy from Thomas County had exposure to pigs at the agricultural fair. Results from the pigs have come back for an influenza sickness that is circulating in swine. Shouldn't have been messing with the swine in the first place. And check this out. Allison told me that the CDC recommends for high risk people at agricultural fairs to avoid entering the swine barn and to avoid pigs while at the fair. You're supposed to avoid them anyway, according to the commandments. God, God damn it. Addison said that it's okay for people at high risk to raise pigs at home, which is not okay to raise pigs at home. She said the primary concern is when a large number of pigs and people come together at agricultural events. People should never be mingling among swine anyway. It reads here, as we learned during the disease detective camp, our body's immune system produces antibodies to fight against the infection. The safest way to get antibodies is through the VAX. And that's not true. Because how many times did they say you can get V'd up, but you still may develop the COV? So it's not the safest way, neither is it the most what's the word? Neither is it the most effective. The safest and most effective way is letting your body fight it on its own. Just like they said in the beginning of the comic. And then when you come to this page, it got the Epidemic Intelligence Service. All these so-called health professionals got them looking like superheroes and cool people and good business folks. This will be your Anthony Fauci, Bill Gates, which both of them are a bunch of crooks. They criminals. They committed many crimes against humanity. Dr. Fauci is the one that deceived everybody into taking the VAX for the COV. Look how that turned out for everybody. Bill Gates is the same devil that's trying to block out the sun, which gives life to everything on earth except these Edomites. So that them your health leaders, Cotton Swab, the devil with the gobble neck, that got an obsession with cyber attacks. Bill Gates, a computer geek. Dr. Fauci, still don't know what he a doctor of, but that's what these people represent, and they criminals. And then as we come to this book, V Through Life activity book, crossword puzzle, a disease also known as lockjaw. Benjamin Franklin's son died of this disease, and they got the answers down here. You see how they fit together. But again, what happened to the colors, the shapes, the animals, different foods, household items that children are supposed to be learning? Why are they trying to force all this on them? Different viruses and being V'd up. We're going to get into it. A word scramble. Got influenza. I'm guessing this measles, this sick. They like measles and influenza is the problem in the world right now. How many words can you make out of immunity? How many words can you make out of being V'd up? Stupid. Kids ain't learning nothing. This is an influenza picture that they want the children to color. So they trying to cram it into their brains to create that fear. The same fear that they created during the pandemic. You know, that scare that people panicked, was scared to go out, wore the mask, when they got V'd up. Now they want to force it on the next generation at a younger age. Because when Esau came with that scare, he scared a lot of us for a little minute. But over like the months, people started to realize this is a scam. This is a fake pandemic. People not really getting sick or dying like that. That it was about control and about money. You know, they ease up on the restrictions and then they enforce the social distancing, the mask mandates. So Esau got a lot of resistance in trying to scare the people. The people started pushing back. The people wouldn't go for it again. So like a devil, who is he targeting? The next generation to try to scare them. So that when it comes to them, there would be no resistance. Everybody will follow every mandate that he comes up with. Getting V'd up for this, for that. So we're going to get this in the book of Sirach, chapter 12, verse 16. They say this, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee to a pit. So he going to speak sweetly. He going to sound educated, soft-spoken, like he's concerned for you, but he really trying to kill you. And that's the case when you, did I exit out? When you even look at this comic book, he's trying to program these children's mind into fearing something that they shouldn't fear. This is going to be the new boogeyman. Because remember, we used to be scared of the boogeyman. We used to be scared of monsters, Tales from the Crypts. This is what the next generation of children going to fear. Things that's not really all that dangerous, that they fight on a daily basis anyway. So an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips. And although Esau is not speaking sweetly, how is he speaking sweetly here? He giving you a cool story, heroes, colors, characters in the form of a cartoon. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. What's that pit? You getting yourself in something you can't get out of. What was the pit from the VAX for the COV, people developing them clots and them parasites in their cardiovascular system. Them black goo-like parasites coming out of their veins and arteries. That's them being in the pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. So yeah, the enemy is going to speak softly to get you to fall. And this is the reason why Esau the white man is now targeting daycares and forcing the daycare providers to put up posters about being V'd up, comic books, puzzle books about being V'd up. And the cover said V up through life. This is why. This is the book of Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go. And when he is old, he will not depart from it. So raise up your child in the scriptures and the commandments, and he'll keep them when he gets older. But see, Esau knows that formula. And a child is most influent, or anybody is most influenced in their younger years. So Esau will influence the next generation by getting them while they're young, while they at school, and while they at daycare. If you train up a child into being V'd up through life, fearing all these illnesses and virus that are really not that deadly, they'll fear them when they get older. You pass another VAX mandate, they take V's throughout all of their life. So it's called V through life. Yeah, train up a child in the way he should go. When he is old, he will not depart from it. And these same coloring books, these same activity books and comic books, not only do they got them, for the VAX, but they got LGBTQ books like this. Why? Because if Esau want to get anybody with the least amount of resistance, you get them when they're young. Even these LGBTQ books, you're getting pushback with the older generation. But the younger generation, who's easily influenced, don't really know what's going on, you can influence them. That's why they use music to target the younger generation. So again, they got VAX books. They got LGBTQ books. They got training and sex change books for children. Why? Because you train up a child in the way he should go. When he is old, he won't depart from it. So if you make that impression, while they're young enough and go hard at it, they won't forget it. This will be their reality. They're not going to fear a monster or the boogeyman or Michael Myers. No, they're going to fear an influenza, strain. They're going to fear not being V'd up. They're going to fear each other and other people. Talk about, I don't know if you've been V'd up yet. Wear your mask. That's how the next generation of children going to be talking. And then when we come to the book of Sirach, chapter 12, you're going to get 17. Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach, 30 and 17. Death is better than the bitter life or continual sickness. So you better off dying than living in fear out of any and everything, because you don't know if there's any sicknesses or diseases on it. You don't know who's been V'd up, who's sick, who's contaminated or not. Death is better than bitter life. Death is bitter than living with them parasites and them white clots and that black glue, that black goo inside of your cardiovascular system. Life is better than being sick because you done took all of the white man's VAXs. Or did I say that right? Death is better than life because you're sick from taking all his VAXs. So death is better than life or continual sickness. So it's better off just to die from an illness if that was going to happen for you than to take something to fight it, but it makes you sick and miserable. Some people can barely function. And then people dropping dead later anyway. This would be out of our fate here in America. Miserable, sick, bitter lives because we done took all kind of chemicals and poison chemicals in our bodies. Again, death is better than bitter life or continual sickness. So you better to die than to live a bitter life under Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, because he's the source of the sickness. Let's prove that he's the source of the sickness. We're going to come to the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 10, verse 10. It says, the physician cutteth off a long disease. This is not a disease in the body, but this disease, it would be a disease to the earth. He that is a king tomorrow shall die. So Esau the white man, he's the king that's ruling over the earth that the Lord likened unto a long disease. So the source of your cancer, the source of your white parasitic clots would be Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. The source to your arthritis and depression and anxiety and obesity, high blood pressure, high cholesterol would be Esau, Edom, so-called white man. The source to your STDs and your HIV and AIDS will be Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. The source to your autism and cerebral palsy, which is also increasing, is Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. So we got a little bit of time, so let's wrap this up. About another 5-7 minutes. So as I said earlier in the lesson, Esau is just coming up for dumb reasons to find a way to get people to take another V. He's coming up with dumb reasons to get people to take another V. For example, if your hair is falling out, there's a VAX for it. If you can't sleep at night, there's a VAX for it. If you got dry cotton mouth, there's a VAX for it. And let's prove it. We got a few examples. Check this out, because what's the next boogeyman right now? That bird flu. Guess what? There's a VAX for it, which we shouldn't be surprised. The FDA grants fast track designation for potential bird flu VAX. What's the fast track? Project Warp Speed. So yeah, a bird flu VAX, the FDA granted fast track or Project Warp Speed designation for self-amplifying mRNA VAX. That's how the last VAX worked for the COVID. It was mRNA based. For active immunization to protect against influenza A H5N1, also known as bird flu. This is the big one right now. So that was, go figure. But check this out. A VAX like version is on the drawing board. For what? New obesity drugs are currently taken once a week. Indefinitely. That means forever. It says, but what if they could be taken once a year like a VAX? So they're coming out with a VAX for obesity, for being overweight. How about you work out and stop eating and fast? That seemed like the safest method. But again, they want to come up with VAXs for obesity and overweight. And here's another one, which we just gonna get the title of it. It says obesity VA axis. That's why you got so many chubby kids. And see, Esau the devil, he'll make you overweight and then say you need a VAX for it. And let's get another example. Check this out. Cancer VAXs. He'll give you cancer for intaking all these toxic chemicals and then say you need a VAX for it. A VAX for breast cancer, prostate cancer, skin cancer that you got because of him. And let's get the last example. Could we develop VAXs for depression and anxiety? So this devil would make you depressed and stressed out. It didn't say you need a VAX for it. Could the same technology that trains the immune system to fight against pathogens also be used as preventative care for depression? Let's see. How about you treat the source of the anxiety and the depression instead of coming up with a VAX for it? In certain types of depression, scientists have identified elevated levels of stress hormone cortisol. So, how about you just decrease the stress? How about you lower prices, lower the cost of living, and then that'll probably cure most depression and anxiety. See, this the damn devil. Yeah, this the devil. If you're depressed and anxiety, there's a V for it. If you got cancer, there's a V for it. If you're obese and overweight, there's a V for it. So you'll be V'd up, all of your life. Taking V's every year, every month, every week. Then what you think they gonna do if you say no? They gonna turn off your microchip. No CBDCs for you. No universal basic income for you. They gonna label you a health risk. But that's why when we get this in Sirach, chapter 12, verse 17, if adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. What's the adversity? The different cancers, the different illnesses, diseases. It says, thou shalt find him there first. Why are you going to find him there first? Because he's going to be the one that diagnoses you. He's going to be the one that's there to treat you. To what? To get your money. Esau creates a problem and then charges you so that he can fix the problem. Like he made you obese, now he want to charge you for a VAX for obesity. He made you depressed and get full of anxiety. Now he want to charge you for a VAX for depression and anxiety. He gave you the cancer. Now he want to charge you for the VAX that he developed for it. So adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. Why? Because when there's a problem, there's money that can be made from it. According to his logic, it says, though he pretend to help thee. Why would he help you solve the problem when he can make money to keep the problem going? Though he pretend to help thee, yet he shall undermine thee. Yep. Scripture say, curse the seed that trust of a man. So you stick your arm out, you get poked up, you develop parasitic white clots, black goo in the blood, or you just suddenly die. That was his intention. He will shake his head, he will clap his hands, he will whisper much and change his countenance. So he's going to seem like he's sad with you, that he's concerned, that he wants you to get better. He's going to change his voice lower his tone. He gonna get on one knee. He's gonna hold your hand, make all kind of promises. Yes, shall he undermine thee. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 12. We're gonna get 12 through 13, 13 through 14. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent? What does the serpent represent? It represents a liar, somebody sneaky. Who was that serpent? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. He was a serpent when he convinced everybody to go get the V for the COV. He was a serpent, a snake, when he said that so-called black and Hispanic communities got to take it first because they at higher risk. When have they ever cared about us? Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beasts? So one that goeth to a sinner, you go to the wicked, and is defiled. Was you defiled? You being penetrated. Now you got white parasitic clots in your system, black goo in your system, suddenly dropping dead. So one that goeth to a sinner and is defiled with them in his sins, who will pity? Who's going to be bad? You mess with a snake, you're going to get bit. And who's that snake? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. You go mingling and meddling with a serpent, you deserve what you got coming. Because why was you around him in the first place when his wickedness is on display for the whole earth to see? The nigga lied about everything. The nigga's a professional criminal. He's a professional scammer. Yet our people still go to him for help. As our scriptures say, your trust in the Pharaoh of Egypt will be your confusion. And we're going to get this in the book of Revelation, chapter 18, verse 23. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. The Lord about to blow Esau lights out. The sun is about to set on his kingdom. The sun is setting on America. This place is over. The voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. So by Esau the white man's sorceries did he deceive the nations. Now, we about to look up something. We about to look up this word sorceries. We're going to look at it in Greek. Something is going to stand out. So again, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. What is this talking about? During the pandemic, he deceived the whole world into taking the V. What am I doing? So we're going to go to this word sorceries. And let's check this word out. Sorceries. What's the Greek word? Pharmakia. Let's prove it. Sorceries is pharmakia. G5331. Check this out. Lord willing, the computer don't die.
Strong's G 5331. Pharmakia. Pharmakia.
Sounds like pharmacy, right? The pharmaceutical industry. That's Esau the white man's sorcery that he deceived the nations with. Biblical usage. So sorceries, which goes into pharmakia, the use or the administering of drugs. What's the V for? Whatever it's for. They medicine, they administering drugs, which is really poison. Sorcery, magic arts, deceptions of seductions of idolatry. So this is sorcery, the administering of drugs and medicine it's really poisoning the people. Now, let's go to the Strong's info. Pharmakia, it says medication, pharmacy, magic, literally or figuratively, sorcery, witchcraft. So back to Revelation 18 and 23, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. So he deceived the whole world into taking the VAC during the pandemic. He ain't done. He got a lot more deception on the way in which he's going to try to force people to take these poisons. This children's coloring book, this activity book, that's him deceiving the nations with his sorceries. So this is what you got to look forward to in America. VAC activity books, VAC comic books for children. No more learning your shapes, numbers, and colors in animals and foods. No more Sesame Street. No more Barney. But junior disease detectives. Taking the V for obesity. Taking the VAC for depression, anxiety. Taking the VAC because you can't sleep. Taking the VAC for any and every reason that he could come up with. So you'll be taking VACs, around the clock, every month, probably every week, probably eventually every other day. And then what did the scripture say? The book of Sirach, chapter 30, verse 17. It said, death is better than bitter life or continual sickness. So you're really better off dying now than to receive any of this man's VACs and the complications and the adverse reactions that's going to come with it. The cancer that he said 75% people are going to develop, or depression, anxiety, cerebral palsy, autism, arthritis, etc., etc. Death is better than a bitter life. And again, we dying at a faster rate. Youngsters getting cancer, cardiovascular disease, strokes, heart attacks. And if they're not dying, they got a grocery list full of illnesses at a young age. Like, God, like, damn, you this young and this sick? Really better off dead. A death would be a favor to us here in America before we get any sicker. But again, that's why the Lord is doing us a favor by returning back sooner than later. Because, might be all right now, but not for much longer. You saw the white man get the releasing whatever he got stored up in the CDC. But this is America's future, being V'd up through life. From a youngster, and you're not going to really even make it to adult life if you start this young. But hey, Lord Willing, that was informative. Till next time, Shalom.